right. Time being 7:02, I will call a common council meeting to order. Could we have roll call, please?
Iverson.
Here.
Schatzinger.
Here.
Hanson. Gallops.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Kotsky.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reading from Psalm 24. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in his holy place? Those who have clean hands and pure hearts, who do not lift up their souls to what is false, and do not swear deceitfully, they will receive blessing from the Lord and vindication from the God of their salvation. Let us pray. Lord, make us the instrument of peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Glory be to the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Paige, seconded by John Split. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. No public comment? All right. Next, is there a motion to approve the informal reports as published?
Motion to approve. Publish.
Second. Any motion by John Split, seconded by Jonathan Gatsky. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next is the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve that as published?
Make a motion to approve the minutes, council meetings.
And
Just the minutes or the whole calendar?
Oh, we want to do both?
You can if you want.
I will do both. And approve the historic preservation certificate of appropriateness for 320 East Jackson Street.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Well, second.
Moved by David, seconded by Paige. Ellen?
I was wondering why Attorney Wirtz is not listed in the minutes for either meeting as having been in attendance.
we just missed them. We can add them.
That would be terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
There will be a correction to the minutes. Is that all right if we add that to your motion?
Yes.
All right.
Sorry, Lud.
Absolutely.
That's okay.
All right.
He was there.
Any further discussion?
Thanks, Paige.
So the motion is now to approve the consent calendar, adding Attorney Wirtz to both minutes. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Moving right into our agenda items. First item is to approve an annual alcohol beverage license request for Moonrise Entertainment at 114 Watson Street. Is there a motion or discussion on this one?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by John Split, seconded by Jolene. Any discussion?
Just point of clarification, is this coming now because it was submitted after our last meeting, but was still submitted prior to the July 1st deadline? Is that correct?
It was submitted after our last meeting, and I believe after the July 1st deadline, or shortly thereafter. So the publication requirement required it to be published because it was submitted ahead of time. So if it came in on like the 27th, you had to get it published, so then it
Okay.
comes to this meeting. So
Okay, so there's no concern about it being,
no concerns. It's
Okay.
just multiple attempts to get this into us. It just came in late.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the annual alcohol beverage license for Moonrise Entertainment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. And then next one is a sidewalk cafe slash outdoor service beer garden license for Moonrise Entertainment again.
Make a motion to approve.
There a second?
I'll second.
Been moved by David, seconded by Jonathan. Ellen?
Can somebody explain that diagram to me? I kind of understand the thing in front of the heist. I don't know what's going on to the left.
So what I understand is that's on, oh gosh. what's
Fond du
that?
Lac Street?
Yep.
Yes, or, yeah, and then, so over by the BLM mural is what I'm
Okay,
getting on
okay.
that side.
There's a gravel area in front of the mural, and then it wraps
Okay,
around.
yeah.
They do
I
own
wasn't,
part.
Yeah, it took me a little bit.
Their property does extend into what looks like the
Correct.
parking lot, but is
Correct.
actually still part of it.
okay, so he wants to have stuff back there too.
Yes.
Okay.
And it looks like there might just be too many circles for tables, if he's got number of tables for 6. I'm guessing the circles are tables. But I see 8 circles.
Yeah, 4 up front and then possibly 4 or 6 in the back area.
Okay.
But I got the rope part.
Question.
Yeah.
How many of these outdoor gardens are allowed in a block?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there's a limit for the gardens, but there is a limit for the street cafes where it
Street,
extends
not
into
that-
the parking
okay.
spots.
That's what,
Right.
I could remember which one it was. I believe you're right.
Street cafe, there's a limit.
That,
Street cafe.
it is street, you can
limited.
have,
And it is limited to 2 parking spots per block.
Right.
okay, all
Right.
right, thanks.
Otherwise, in theory, everybody could have a sidewalk cafe.
Does this license tie in with him serving food, and they're going to have food and alcohol out there, or is it just going to be alcohol on the sidewalk?
It's for an outdoor beer garden, so it would be food and alcohol.
Okay, so he's going to be serving,
There are restaurant components to
Yeah.
the heist.
Okay.
So, they do like 3 or 4
Pop-up,
nights a week.
yeah.
They do like Taco Tuesdays or, whatever. They do a few different activities like that, so.
did we have in the ordinance, like, X percentage of sales has to be food versus alcohol or anything like that?
We do. We do have that requirement. $634. If an outdoor service beer garden does not qualify as a restaurant which derives more than 50% of its gross business revenue from the sale of food, then any access or entry to the outside premises shall only occur through the main building of the premises. So I guess we allow it if it goes through the main building of the premise, which this would not, so there's got to be a food component.
So, I mean, I guess this kind of ties in then with my concern being the side street by the mural. Not having, I know there's a door there that goes kind of down, enters down sort of behind the lower bar. So kind of like a really side back entrance. Just with that not being well monitored, I don't know, as opposed to like right in front of the building. Is that, I mean, I just don't see it as it's not really in the public area, or is it really connected to the main entrance of the building? Is that a concern as far as having beverage allowance out there? Because there's no, it's like a back entrance to the building. Do you know what I'm saying?
Can you read what you just said, though? Because I thought you said that it doesn't have to be connected with the main entrance, but people would still enter. My understanding is, I'm not sure people are going to enter from that side.
Right.
But you would enter the main entrance. Of course, he's not here to speak to it. But, that would be a way that you'd walk out there. But that shouldn't be a concern based on what I just heard, is it? Or if people aren't entering there, but they're going out there.
It depends on how much of his business is food versus alcohol. If his business is more than 50% food, then they can enter.
Sidewalk cafes. Yeah, let me clarify that. Sidewalk cafes are specifically limited those licensees who derive more than 50% of their gross business revenue from the sale of food. So it's a sidewalk in the front, and I guess it's a sidewalk of a kind on the side, I believe. So they could not do it unless they qualify as a restaurant, serving 50%.
That side area is gravel right now. I think the previous restaurant, if I remember, had kind of a decorative seating outside there, and I'm not sure it was really used. But the fronts, they're actually using sidewalk. The side area in front of that mural, that is not taking up current space that people are walking on. From my understanding, there is an area, like an alcove, that's not sidewalk. There's a sidewalk next to it.
Yeah.
On public sidewalks, subject to approval, so it either is on a sidewalk or it's not. So that is an important question.
And
So in the front, clearly it's on a sidewalk. So the side is what we're discussing, and I'm not sure
I don't believe it
Where-
is a sidewalk.
where it's at.
Would that be considered just his private land then?
yeah.
But it would require the
Then-
beer
then-
garden license.
Then it's a beer garden.
Okay,
That's a beer garden.
yeah.
So yes, it's a different licensing if it's
And-
not on a sidewalk.
And the application is for an outdoor service beer garden.
Also?
That's what he checked on the application.
No. Because the application is dual here.
Yeah, it's a dual purpose, so technically he should have checked both, but.
Right. Right. That is what he should have done.
But I think what it comes down to is the percentage of his business, food versus alcohol, does change requirements for
And a beer garden requires different fencing.
fencing, solid fencing versus rope.
Exactly. So you can't have it both ways. Either it's on a sidewalk or it's not.
I would like some clarification from him as well, based on Moonrise Entertainment. I don't know, at least as far as what I know has been happening there. They don't actually own the restaurant component. There's different restaurant owners coming in and doing, having their tacos and stuff. Is that,
They own the restaurant, they license the restaurant, but they rent it out to pop-ups.
okay, so that would still fall under his food sales though, not the pop-up? I just don't want it to get caught up in,
I suppose that's open to interpretation.
I think it might be good to get clarification just so everyone's on the same page, so this doesn't happen. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's great, and the tacos are really good that I've had. But I like the idea of having that kitchen space available for different restaurant owners to use in the way they've been using it. I just think with liability and specifics of it, determining how this will properly fit into the ordinances, so I just don't want it to get caught up, or in future renewals, having similar discussions.
Outdoor premises shall be completely surrounded by an attractive wall, fence, or barrier of at least 4 feet in height. The outdoor premises shall be constructed with a hard surface such as decking material or paver brick.
That's if it's a beer garden?
That's if
That's
it's
a
a
beer
beer
garden.
garden.
Okay.
So it's clear he's mixing metaphors here. Certainly, it would seem that what everyone has discussed is that you could grant the front and require him to bring back an amendment for the side. Could be the amendment, did somebody move it already?
It's,
I think you have a motion on the floor,
the motion is to approve the application.
but it could be amended.
It could be amended,
This is where it would benefit the person involved to be here.
being here. Yeah.
And one thing you said, if it is a beer garden, the gravel area would not
Yeah, would not
constitute.
constitute, according to our ordinance.
So say it again, I want you to say that out loud. So the gravel area does not.
Must be a hard
Yes,
surface.
it might be hard surface.
So now we're asking him to redo
The ordinance says the beer garden has to be on a hard surface, which could be concrete, decking, or another hard material. Gravel would not constitute a hard surface.
Right. So if, and again, the mayor pointed out, in his application, it appears that he is asking for an outdoor service beer garden, but we also recognize that the front end is a sidewalk cafe. And so, the body can move to amend and grant a sidewalk cafe for the front and remove any permit for the side.
I think I have
Or you
some,
can
I
send
think
it
I
back.
have some larger questions. Maybe I don't understand why a beer garden would need to have a hard surface. I'd like to know why in that. Also, if we're asking someone to pave over an area, I mean, even just from an environmental perspective, I would assume having porous material allows water to drain down, and now we're asking,
But then it's not a beer garden. Then it's an extension of your premises, and for limited occasions, and we've got another one coming, for limited purposes, you can extend out into a area adjacent to. But if it's a beer garden, it's a beer garden, and it needs to be enclosed, that's the ordinance. So,
with hard surface.
with hard surface or pavers,
Who made the motion?
I found that odd, too.
Dave did, I
Dave made the motion.
And to be clear, that side area is private property. That is not, that is.
not
Not
our
our-
sidewalk or otherwise, okay.
With the sidewalk cafe permit, can he serve alcohol?
If he's a restaurant.
Pardon?
If it's more than 50%.
Right.
50%, it's gotta be
So
50.
maybe he just checked the wrong box
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, I
or
believe,
misunderstood
Right.
that, so,
but
okay.
it's clear with the clarification from Adam, the side does not work
Right, because of,
as presently constituted.
Okay.
Does not. He cannot operate on that side unless he comes back before the body and establishes it to be a beer garden. Extension of his premise.
And he puts new
Yeah,
flooring.
throw something down, he's got to throw something impervious down, other than gravel.
How would you recommend someone asking why that came about or the purpose of that?
I think it's just the evolution of beer gardens before sidewalk cafes and street cafes were very particular, very defined, very controlled. And the idea that you just willy-nilly don't throw up fencing in the middle of a gravel area is the point. And, past times would be a good example.
We are not engineers, we are not the business owner. I think the discussion should focus on changing the motion to have Mr. Luna appear before city council and answer questions. All we're doing is speculating tonight. I'm not an engineer. I can't talk about an impervious surface or the cost that could be possibly occurring, but I think it would be best for us to actually have the person who's asking for this to come forward and talk about it.
Okay? So the motion on the floor is to approve.
Right.
Clearly, that in doing so would violate your own ordinances if you approve
Yes.
what he's given you.
So our options could be to vote no to the motion, or we could withdraw the motion and create a new motion.
We can, yeah.
I was gonna say, I guess to me, it would make sense to just approve the Watson Street one and delay the other part. I mean, you'd get half of his seating, right, if the
So the
intent.
mover and seconder
So
agree to remove.
That would be me, and I agree to remove.
Would you like
Yes,
to remove your motion?
yes.
And you seconded? Would you like, okay. Would anyone like to make a new motion? John or Jonathan?
I'll move to approve the Watson Street portion with 4 tables with ropes in front as a sidewalk cafe.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it just so we can discuss this.
Okay.
I would ask for a friendly amendment to that motion, to have Mr. Luna appear before us if he wants to further explore the Fond du Lac Street site.
I agree to that, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay,
Kills 2 birds with 1 stone.
all right. And in my opinion, it should be 2 separate applications, one for a sidewalk cafe and one for a beer garden.
Kind of what
And that's why we
the
need him
motion handles it
here.
in.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Additional language. Mover and second,
Okay.
that's acceptable?
So the current motion made by Jonathan is to approve the Watson Street side of the diagram and ask Mr. Luna to come to a city council meeting to further discuss.
The next city council meeting,
The next city council meeting to further discuss the
the
Fond
Fond
du
du
Lac
Lac
Street
Street
site.
site.
All right, any discussion on that motion?
Yeah, because I'm looking at this, and there's 2 of them here, right? And he has, the drawing, he has both of them on here, right?
Yes.
I don't see how we can split that up. To me, we should vote against this and let him redo this and come back and maybe even a better drawing and an idea of what he's going to do here. Because we're guessing on the 50/50 beverage versus food.
also that
There's too much guesswork and everything else here. So I think a clean way to do it, because we're assuming he's going to do this and not this. I would just assume, make this all go away and redo it. That's my opinion.
Unmuddy the waters.
John?
I kind of see Dave's point, but also I don't know what he has scheduled for upcoming events. If we give him the Watson Street front cafes, permit, I think then at least he could have something to start with and come back to us with the side. So,
That's the current motion on the floor.
yes.
I would agree, I think, with that, in that, again, I want people to follow the rules, and if you're listening, please, come and meet with Adam, for example, our city administrator, if you have questions about something, or, someone at the city. But again, you speak to the human aspect of this. At the end of the day, here's a local business owner, when we are still in a pandemic, who's thinking, how can we have people sit outside? And also we want our local business owners to be able to have income during a time that this last 2 years has been really tough. So I see that side of this, which is why I feel, as much as I want someone to follow the letter of the law exactly, I see the human component of it, of allowing someone a creative way to, 1, have people be safe and be outside, and 2, hopefully have some extra income and create a unique space for our downtown.
Yeah, I'm all for that, but
Yeah.
we don't really know his intention right now. I can't tell by this what he really wants to do. And if time were of the essence, I believe he'd be here to explain it, so.
Paige?
When an applicant is, do they get any information other than the application? Is there anything aside from how the ordinance is written in its entirety? Are they receiving any additional information, or are they just kind of checking what box they think applies? Because maybe we can clarify, if there's a way we can clarify.
So what I have learned here tonight is we have to redo everything we do in terms of applications and permitting for sidewalk cafes and outdoor service beer gardens.
That's what I was kind of getting
Okay?
at,
This has
wondering.
been how they've done it for the last umpteen years under, lumping them together into 2 different things. we will rework all of this for future years. They get a copy of this in their packets when they get their liquor license, because it kind of runs coterminous with that. So we would revamp everything and make it a little bit more comprehensive and understandable to them what what we expect and what the expectations are in the ordinance. So I think there's room for improvement there. And this just shows that. So we'll do that administratively. And, beyond that, most of the individuals that come for this, they already have it. So, they understand the rules. It's the same thing when we talked about it last month. We did send out reminders and go talk to those who had sidewalk cafes about encroaching, and we continue to have that dialogue if complaints come in. So most people, once they do it 1 year, they have it pretty much down and understand it. So.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? All right, so the motion is to approve the tables and seating on the Watson Street side.
As a
and-
sidewalk cafe.
As a sidewalk cafe, and request that Mr. Luna attend the next council meeting to further explain the Fond du Lac Street side. Could we have a roll call vote on this one?
Iverson,
Yes.
Stotzinger,
Yes.
not here. Gallops,
No.
Kane,
Yes.
Gotsky,
Yes.
Sorensen,
Yes.
Split.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And you will reach out to Mr. Luna?
We will reach out to Mr. Luna.
One of you two. Excellent, thank you.
And just for the record, you will also check to make sure that they have complied with all the subsections of sidewalk cafes.
Yes, we
Like
will.
everyone,
Yep.
because there are some specific languages regarding additional insured, naming the city of Ripon. So I just want to make sure that's happening in all cases. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next item is a request for temporary extension of license of premises for 2 one-day events for Plaza Bowl, July 16th and July 23rd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved by John, seconded by Paige. Ellen?
I have a question, and probably the chief could answer it the best. The request seems to be in order, but there's nothing about whether or not children will be excluded from the fenced-in area where the cornhole games will be played.
Chief, did you get any more information on this?
Not any more information than what's included. I did see that they would have to enter that area, so you have to enter the establishment before you enter that area, is I think what was in there. And they would wristband people, but I did not see anything about underage or juveniles in there.
Yeah, it seems to be that it says, it infers that in order to drink, you have to have the wristband, which is a best practice. But it doesn't indicate, we just had this conversation about Ripon Fest and best practices and social norming, that children should not be allowed into this area. That's my concern, that should be a restriction on this.
And
Chief?
if I'm recalling my statutes correctly, and maybe Lud can help
With
me
an
with
adult
that,
or
I
a guardian.
believe there is
Adult
some
or
type of exemption here
Parent or
for
guardian.
underage people for bowling alley,
Right. There is.
believe it or not. I believe there
bowling
is.
alley?
Yes, yes, I believe
There
there
is.
is.
There is.
Where they can enter, that's how you can have youth tournaments and stuff, bowling out there in a bar, in a
Yeah.
licensed establishment.
So there is.
So there is an exemption for underage people because they don't meet that restaurant percentage.
Correct.
Because there's a percentage for that as well, where if
And
you're.
beyond the premise.
Yeah,
without-
if you have certain food income, you can have underage people in there that have to then leave. I believe that there is an exemption for bowling alleys.
I believe the only place they're not allowed to be is in the bar area itself.
Correct. So,
But alcohol is.
right,
permissible.
they can't belly up to the bar and
Right.
sit at the bar.
Unaccompanied.
Right.
Again,
Um,
Well, I learned
parents.
So,
tonight, thank you.
yeah, so just keep that in mind. So I guess it's up to you what you decide to do there, but I just thought.
Extending a bowling alley premise in theory for 2 special occasions.
So it's- And I can research that more for you, but I believe that that's.
I'm assuming the beginning time should be starting at 12:30 PM?
I see 11.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they can start a little early there.
Yeah, yeah. And the second event starts at 11 a.m., so. I would assume so. Any further discussion?
It will make that amendment, if it moves forward, 12:30 PM to 10 o'clock PM, and the other one is 11 AM to 11 PM. For the record.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the temporary extension of license for the 2 dates for Plaza Bowl, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? As approved. Next is a pay application number 3 for the Senior Activity Center, going to Harmony Construction for $258,545.29.
Make a motion to pay for application number 3 for $258,545.29.
I will second that.
Been moved by David, seconded by Paige. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving pay application number 3, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next item, Senior Activity Center furniture purchase agreement. Do you want to give a quick summary on this? We got a.
Yeah, so in your packets, there was a, sort of a package of furniture purchase agreement with Excel Engineering. You may wonder, why would Excel Engineering, an engineering company, be presenting a package for furniture? The answer to that question is because the city has worked with Excel Engineering to design and procure furniture for the Senior Activity Center. Excel Engineering understood that the city was working on a project and proactively came to us and said, we have local people who work at Excel Engineering who work, or who live in Ripon, who do interior designing. And we know that interior designing and furniture purchasing, when it comes to buildings, can be a pain. And what we had from MSA in our overall plan to begin with was merely a diagram like this. So we said we need to procure furniture for the center. Office furniture, exterior furniture, lounge furniture, tables, chairs, stackable, things that are commercial grade, things that fit the design elements of everything. So we worked with Excel Engineering and their design team to procure furniture and design elements of the Senior Activity Center for, instead of going out and, as staff, either going to a bigger company, buying things off of Amazon, trying to mix match things, going to big furniture companies like JBI to, out of West Bend, to put together a package and design it themselves. So more or less, the idea here was to work with design professionals who understand the needs of the project and understand commercial spaces and furniture and design to put together a very nice product that's comprehensive in nature and very well thoroughly planned out, and to buy products that are commercially grade that they have experience using and have experience with vendors. So the proposal is for $62,169.76. That may change, so that is the maximum amount that it would be because of things like government pricing that they are also able to obtain for us. So they proposed this package. This entire package was done in coordination with the color scheme of the senior activity center and other design elements. So you have in the front vestibule 2 commercial chairs and a table. These are not just wood, they are laminates and more durable. These chairs, all of the furniture are commercial grade, have 5-year warranties, have 400-pound test limits, and have Creon, I believe it is, fabric, stain repellent. So believe it or yes, this is a senior activity center. We have had issues, so we need to have certain grade of furniture there. The other thing here is they are compliant with fire codes and things of that nature. So things do get a little bit pricier, but these are the general design. And as you can see here, you know, one of the elements and reasons why we selected this particular brand and this design was this back cut, because it's actually genius. No crumbs or issues will fall into the chair. They will be swept off into the floor, okay? So this has been designed out with all elements, durable equipment. We then move into a space where we get chairs. So we need to buy a ton of chairs, and they need to be stackable. And we also need chairs that have arms for old folks to be able to get up. So we thought that through in buying a ton of chairs with this. We also looked at tables, and instead of Adam going on Amazon and saying, let's get a bunch of crappy looking white tables, we decided to spend some more money and buy some telescopic wheels and ones that fold and go in, all commercial grade, all storable, with some white tables as an addition on. We then have the
So going back to the tables, is the reason why they're not all with the wheels is because those were just so much more expensive? It seems
That's-
like it would be nice to have all of them with those.
And if you look at this, what we tried to do is get these areas with those tables. So this main area, if we needed to extend it out, we would bring out the white tables. But this would be the general layout of the center every day, give or take, something like this. So as you know, as a bigger event comes in, we can't store 75 tables like with wheels on them and put it, you know, so we said, well, let's take these other ones and these ones and store them in the closet. And when you need them, pull them out, you know? So that was kind of the give and take in it. You know, they're more expensive, yes, but also 9 times out of 10, you won't see the white tables unless there's a bigger event or you need them. So that was the thought process there. We move into a more lounge area, similar. These are all the chairs. There's a design that matches the color scheme. All the fabrics, like I said, would be repellent of fluid and stain. And you have some tables, things of that nature. You then move into the office area where you have your general desk and things. That would be the general office for Noreen as we move in. And then we have kind of a second consulting room with a table and a bookshelf and that. So finally, we then have a outdoor space where there are 3 patios. These are all from Thomas Steel, which is a Wisconsin company, and the company we worked with to buy a lot of the stuff downtown. They do outdoor furnishings. As you can see, one of these is an ADA. So they remove a seat and there's an ADA component. So overall, this is how it looks. The engineers in Excel Engineering, you know, also have installation in here, so they will come up and install everything. As I mentioned, they went through and spec'd all this out, went to their vendors and their contracts with certain companies to get these elements, and the benefit there is we can buy a table from one company and a desk from another, and they have access to that. So we can pick and choose the design instead of going to one company and being told, we can only fulfill this part of it, you have to go somewhere else to fulfill this part of it. So this is a comprehensive design. I brought it forward to you all. The budget for this entire project was $75,000. This is under that. That includes appliances. So Excel also did help us coordinate appliance purchases to the tune of around $9,500. So overall, we are in around $71,000 for furnishings and appliances. That $9,500 for the appliances will be donated back by the Senior Association. They are paying for that, so we remain under budget. I wanted to kind of show you the work that's been done and the process that has been laid out and provide you the look of what this is going to be based on the design. And it's $62,000, so I figured, might as well have you look at that as well. Beyond that, we have a few picnic tables to buy and a few other outdoor pieces we will look at buying. And then we have the AV system. So with the donations, with everything, we should be under the $75,000 allocated, previously approved in the budget of the Senior Activity Center.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone tonight's vote on the purchase agreement to allow local businesses to at least be asked if they can supply some of the furniture.
I'll second.
Is there discussion on that motion?
Do we know how long the contract of the current price that's being proposed is good for?
One of the reasons why this is here tonight is because this stuff is all available. We've already had to make design changes based on availability of products. So if we delay this, there's a chance that there are things that we can no longer get. To the point of local businesses, no business was cut out into an opportunity. Certain businesses have representation with certain commercial lines. Some of those design elements and lines are only with specific companies, and local businesses do not have access to or are not the preferred vendor for those pieces. Okay? I have talked to local vendors about this and asked them for information regarding their commercial lines. What do they offer? I have yet to be provided that information, but we certainly could look at local options for things, and I would recommend a motion to expend up to $62,169.76 and allow us to purchase the things in here that need to begin being purchased. And if there are things that local vendors can come back at with a competitive price, a comparable product that is not residential in nature, that has the same warranties, same design elements, that we can do that. We can pause some things and provide that opportunity. I'm just saying sometimes local vendors do not have access to the things we buy or want to buy or the best decision for this space. From the standpoint of why you don't want to buy residential or something, we are buying residential appliances. You know what we don't get with residential appliances in a commercial space? A warranty, okay? Any residential piece here would not have a warranty. So our designer has made these decisions and put forward these elements because of the elements and the background and everything that goes with commercial furniture and the design of this space. So I would hate to hold up everything over something that may never be possible. At the same time, we understand that there may be a chance that a local vendor has an opportunity to price something out, but that may not be at the financial benefit of the city either.
And to further answer your question on timeline, this quote does expire on, I believe, August 6th, or it could be 5th. And is this a full bid, or are they willing to part it out at the same price?
I think we could get the ball rolling with them and we could look at other options. It would just come down to timing. But this is a full package. I hate to say that, one color of gray or one shade of brown or black would ruin everything. I don't think it would, but.
But the price could go up if we part it out.
The price could change. So,
John?
Just to clarify, one vendor in Ripon as of 12 o'clock this afternoon had not been contacted by the city. The other vendor that I talked to was contacted last night, but given the short time period of this vote, he didn't have time to bid anything out. That's my concern, that they weren't given enough time to call their distributors with the certain information, chair XYZ, call their vendors, see what they could get the price for. That's my thoughts. We talked about policies of buying local. I understand that the interior designer lives in Ripon. I'm disappointed that that person didn't think of the two local vendors that we have.
they
in
did.
Ripon.
They did. And the reason is because of access to the products that were picked and selected.
A phone call would have took care of all that
I understand.
immediately.
I understand that.
We're
But
getting
there are
bad blood
certain-
from the people.
I've talked to the business owner about this and have expressed everything and have requested so I can provide the designers what lines he carries or they carry. So in future, a local person who has ties to designing out other projects
Sure.
can solicit from them. There's no information out there saying that this business has these products or has access to these products. So that, the designer, based on best practice and what their history with vendors and how they procure furniture and how contracts work with commercial furniture, this is what was procured.
Right, it's
so-
local money, a local business, one phone call would have took care of it, yes or no. If they were interested, I have no idea if they can get it or not, but it would have been nice to have a phone call, and that's my reason to make the motion to postpone it.
Is there further discussion on this motion?
Clarification of the motion is strictly to postpone. The city administrator has pointed out, and the mayor, the package nature of this. And the city administrator's suggestion would be that an amendment to that motion would include authorizing the 62,000 pricing for the items that are before the common council tonight, just clarifying what I heard from the council and from the administrator.
Could you repeat that?
The administrator's suggestion is your motion, if acted on and voted up, positive vote, would just simply delay it. The city administrator is saying, include in your motion the package that has been presented, that is prepared to be acted on within that budget, and then allow the opportunity of contacting a local vendor that fits within the prescriptions that have been created, designed, debated, discussed, presented this evening. That's,
Okay.
I'm just clarifying for the common
So what you're
council.
saying is, we can postpone tonight's vote, but we need to give the chance to the vendors in Ripon to price out the product.
Within the
He
constraint,
wants the 60, what they want is the not to exceed 62,000.
Correct, and I don't want-
and the specifics that are before you this evening that the city administrator detailed. That not just carte blanche, postpone and start over.
Forever.
Correct.
Right.
No,
Act
all the work
within
that's done.
The
laying it out,
constraints
picking
of
the
what's
fabric
already been
is
laid
fine.
out, that's already been designed,
That,
at checking to see if a local vendor, and is that possible, Adam? That a local vendor could fit within this? You don't know, I understand.
These are Califon chairs. I have no idea if a local
Right.
vendor can get Califon chairs. Is there a substitute to Califon chairs that is
Comparable.
adequately priced and we can see if that's the case. That's fine. My assumption is they can't get Califon chairs. Because if you go to Califon's website and you try to go to sales and you look at where you can buy Califon chairs, there's nowhere in Ripon you can buy Califon chairs.
That's where I'm asking.
Yeah.
A phone call. If you can just get a phone call to the local vendors, if they can supply the patio furniture, if they can supply those Califon chairs, yes or no? That's all.
We can do that. I can tell you that the local vendors do not have access to this outdoor furniture. That's Thomas Steel furniture sold to municipalities and they would have to be the middleman, literally. And we can just go to them and buy this. Like, this is the same thing as Downtown Streetscape, the same company that manufactures this. So this is where we could go to them and try to find an ulterior option, but it may not be priced adequately and it may not be the same. So we can do that exercise. I'm just saying, they can't,
Right, they might
doesn't
get
make sense because we can just go to them and get them it ourselves. Like, I can go to Thomas Steel and just buy this stuff. So,
And all I'm trying to do is frame the issue for the common council. There's a motion on the floor simply to delay any action. And the city administrator, I think, was respectfully asking, within the structure of what he has presented that has been designed by Excel, could you allow that motion to contact local vendors to see if they can fit within the confines of that is his request? I'm just clarifying for the council. I'm not
Yes, if.
advocating anything, I'm just
I'm
clarifying.
not against their design, because I know nothing
Okay.
about design. It's just,
Okay.
we need to ask our local vendors or local businesses if they can supply it or not.
Okay, and that's a different motion. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
So that, and I'm not begging for a motion, I'm just clarifying.
Julie?
Well, so am I just hearing that an idea for perhaps an amendment or a different motion would be to approve the amount that is listed here? And that, are we able to say that we have 3 days that we charge our city administrator to make sure to get, to make that local connection with our local vendors? Of course, any of us can follow up to make sure that that happened. And then if after those, if then by the end of this week, that we have authorization to move forward with what is presented, either with what is presented here tonight, or if it is comparable to the same quality, the same exact standards, to the same, I guess the same company. It would have to be the same company.
there's multiple furniture companies. It's just going to come down to, is it designed appropriately? Is it going to fit? Is it going to look the same? Do they have the same things? Not every couch has that built in there.
I hear
You
you,
know what I mean?
so could the
So-
amendment be that, so likely that it sounds like in all actuality, our local vendors are not, and our local vendors knew this project was going on, so they could have contacted us also proactively, but I also hear the argument of saying it would be nice if the city made that connection just to ask. So, are we simply, could an amendment be to move forward with what is presented, not to exceed this amount, but if a local vendor has the exact same product, they have 3 days to let us know they can get it, or something like this? Could that be an example?
We have I would say we have more time than 3 days. I wouldn't put a day on it. I certainly, we can take this package and take the information to local vendors and see if there's any appetite or ability to provide, a alternative or a quote that can be built within the $62,000 budget. If we have a local vendor and their price comes back $1,000 more than the current price, we need to stay within the budget, right?
Yeah.
So.
Which is why I
so-
say,
yeah.
so why I'm bringing up, the 3 days is because it sounds like in all likelihood, they're not going to have it, but we want to make sure we ask. And also, we need to move fast. I hear you saying that the price could go up, the availability might not be here, and there's, again, a reason professionally that they selected everything here. So we don't want to delay ourselves so that suddenly now we are being charged more. So it does sound like there is a timely component here.
John?
Question, does the interior designer have each individual piece broke down, like that couch, $700?
Yes.
Okay, then I would withdraw, if I may, withdraw my motion to postpone and make a new motion to
From the second.
approve. Pardon?
And there was a thumbs up from the second.
Okay.
Before you make your motion, before you make your motion, I want to ask Adam a question. Is it something where we could ask Excel Engineering to use our vendors as their supplier?
Yeah, I certainly think that,
So we still get the package price, but our local
that-
vendors,
but that's where, trying to make the connection locally for the designers to our local businesses is a component of this that I'm trying to accomplish as well for future projects. Because if they're not even in the conversation with interior designers that they can do this type of work, that is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to, if this ship has sailed, that is what we're trying to move to next, is trying to connect the dots for people so we provide greater opportunities for, it may not be this, but there may be a bank that excels designing that they're not going to downtown Ripon to procure furniture because they don't think they can do it based on the product lines they carry. Well, if they carry those product lines, great. Now we've made that connection.
thank you. Go ahead,
Okay,
John.
I would like to make the motion to approve the furniture package tonight, giving the city administrator direction to contact local businesses to see if they can or will bid out comparable, or furniture comparable to,
Not to exceed.
not to exceed.
62.
My glasses on. $62,169.76.
I will second.
Thank you.
That's it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I will second that.
All right, thank you. Discussion on that motion.
Is this going to impact, you got the designer that we paid for, right? And the designer designed this with the intent, the designer's selling this to us, right?
I mean, they're putting together the package, so they're not marking anything up. They're getting paid on a time and material contract through the city.
Okay.
So, we can plug different things in at,
Okay.
this is just their recommendation. I will say that if we come up with a product that they don't recommend, they will tell us that, saying, don't
Right.
buy this because you'll be replacing it in 3 years. But, if that's our decision at that point, it is what it is,
Right.
That's the
We're
trade-off.
not looking to change everything here. We're looking to see if a local vendor
Right.
can get us that.
Yeah.
I would say.
Basically, though, we're not looking to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
80% of this is, these tables are expensive, folks. Like, the
Right.
62
Yeah.
grand. These are expensive. I don't think there's going to be anybody locally that's selling these types of tables.
But if there
okay?
is, that would
Yes.
be great.
Yes,
To
but
utilize that.
there are going to be things that they can pick or choose off of the list that they may be able to price out and get, so.
What?
Okay.
Paige?
I don't know, okay, so as far as, I know the furnishings for that type of thing, as far as restrooms go with changing tables and stuff, is that falling under this, or is that someone separate?
That's something separate.
Okay.
That will be built in. And then, I've also had discussions with Noreen about, building in money to decorate it. So we would go downtown and buy locally, like fake plants and whatever
As far
else.
as the changing tables, I believe that was part of the MSA design.
Okay.
Those
So
are
it
all
would come
built
with
in.
harmonization.
Okay, because I was just wondering if they were going to
But-
include the toddler seats, because those are game changers.
I don't know. I have to look.
I'll crowdfund for it.
Done.
Okay. I
One
just
la-
didn't know if that
oh,
fell
I'm
under-
sorry.
Sorry.
One last thing is the installation of $3,400. Can we just maybe ask if there's a service group that maybe can put screws in the tables or wants to help out? Or, I mean, that seems expensive. I mean, most of that, the chairs are together, I'm sure.
I
You
don't know if
carry
they-
it
I
in.
will warn to that, it could void a warranty.
Yeah,
Yep.
If you don't have the.
especially for
Well,
commercial.
then we better make sure that it's,
And the
the
liability.
installation people are certified
Right.
through that furniture company.
I believe Excel comes in with their designers and puts everything together and, you know, has the correct spec and does it correctly. So, you know, that, we don't have people just laying around to go unpack a bunch of stuff either,
Well, we might.
you know?
You know, you could have, I don't know about liability, but you could have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts,
Yeah, the warranty.
Knights of Columbus,
I
men.
think there's a warranty and
Yeah.
liability issues. too.
If that's a concern, that's fine. It's a valid point. If you want to make sure it's warranty.
Yeah.
Furniture warranties are very exact.
Yes.
Do we have to vote?
Yeah,
Motion on the floor.
I think we do.
We do.
Naomi, could
motion
you
on the
read the
floor.
motion back?
I don't know, I've got 2 pages of this conversation, guys. So we're gonna approve the package. Adam, as administrator, is gonna contact local businesses not to exceed the $62,169.76. All we have on it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically what we're saying, once he contacts him, he has authorization to move forward
If they
and go
can't
with
get
it.
it, right.
That was John's motion,
Yep.
to authorize him to move forward.
And he will have the authority to try to use local vendors as much as possible.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion on that motion? Wow. Hearing none. All those in favor of approving this motion?
Roll call, Duke, roll call.
We'll do a roll.
Iverson,
Yes.
Schatzinger,
Yes.
Gallops,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Gotsky,
Yes.
Sorensen,
Yes.
Split,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. All right. Next item is an ordinance to amend Chapter 20.04 definitions and Chapter 20.12 Residential District 1, R1 Single Family, Chapter 20.16 Residential District 2, R2 1 and 2 Family, and Chapter 20.20 Resident District 3 Multiple Family of City of Ripon zoning code. Go ahead, Adam.
You all want the show, I can give you the full show, just to give you an idea why we are talking about this.
Oh, no.
I'll be brief, sorry. This is painful stuff. Okay, this process started a long time ago. That's the beginning of it. Okay, so this is from March of this year. This started almost a year ago. The city had an opportunity to work with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities and the Congress of New Urbanism to be a case study program for what became known as a user's guide for Wisconsin neighborhood affordability zoning code reform in Wisconsin. It set out guidelines on how to appropriately amend zoning codes to promote better housing, more flexibility with housing, and housing affordability. We then had a free technical assistance dating back to January from Ayers and Associates to rewrite portions of our zoning code that you see today to address those code reform changes. So, the current conditions are we have a lot of issues in our zoning code for compliance within historic neighborhoods. The current code says you cannot exceed, I believe, 30% of lot coverage. So, you know, when we're applying modern codes to old areas, there are restrictions, lacks flexibility, and just conflicts all over the place. So, if somebody's has a historic structure or is in a historic district, for example, like, here's 60, well, that's my house, but here's, let's use Lud's house, just so everybody knows. Lud's current, lot coverage is 32%. So if he wanted to add on, or if there was ever an issue of remodeling or anything like that, he would be capped and need to get a variance to the zoning code. So there's just kind of those things that hang out there that are obstacles for developing on residential areas. Even some of our more modern areas, that wasn't Lud's house, sorry. But even some of our more modern areas, like on Pleasant Street, there's a lot of 42% lot coverage, setback issues. We've taken development from, going back to the 1850s or so, up to the 1950s into the 1970s, and have tried to put a modern code on that development when there wasn't zoning codes. So we just wanted to address some of those issues that were outstanding and promote things. We have reuse issues. We lack housing development, as you heard. So the overall goal was to make small zoning code changes to allow greater flexibility for property owners and developers to increasing housing availability and options and to promote housing affordability. And it corresponds with the two other things we just talked about last month, the housing market analysis, which they talked about zoning code reform. So we went through the zoning code R1, which you have, R2, R3 are packaged in with then the definitions. So things that changed, for example, were allowing accessory dwelling units in the R1 district. There was also the 30% lot coverage moved to a 40% lot coverage, providing a little more flexibility. Corner lots setbacks were changed. General setbacks were changed. Conversion duplexes are now an allowable use. Parking limits were pushed back to 1 per unit versus 2 per unit. So it's kind of, you see in there the cross out in the add-on in the ordinance of what's changing. And some height restrictions have changed. R2, you kind of bump in 3 to 4 unit dwellings as new construction as a permitted by conditional use. You also then get into accessory dwelling units, and you have in here as well a 0 side yard setback allowable via conditional use. So somebody can build a conversion duplex in that area now, and also setbacks, a little changes in there as well. So from a front yard, and then R3, we put in multifamily dwellings, 8 units or less are a permitted use. They're allowed. Anything over 8 units would be a conditional use, as well as then, some accessory dwelling and setback changes. So overall, these are meant to address, some affordability issues, some current code issues. It's been a long process. The Plan Commission has reviewed these at least 3 times and has recommended, after public hearing, approval on this section. It's a lot. It's boring stuff somewhat, but it's important.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, John.
I'll second it.
Moved by John, seconded by Doug. Any discussion? Doug?
I was on the Plan Commission for those 2 years that was being brought forward, and I have to say, I think it's some pretty good changes. I think it will help some people. It'll attract a few people who want to live in the historic district, but they don't need 3 bedrooms, that maybe it's just themselves. It helps maybe an older couple who has a carriage house next door that they can turn, or is an apartment already, like maybe someone wants to rent that out for whatever, or they want to maybe take the upstairs of their big old house and make it a separate dwelling unit. So it allows this to happen, encourages people to do that if they would so choose to. So I think it's a good change. I think it's very positive and will help our community.
Anyone else?
This was a helpful presentation. Is this I don't think it's in our packet, right? Could it be emailed to us?
It's on the website. It's on the city's website. It's been out there a while.
So it's exact, I've seen that, but I didn't know that it was exactly just from the website. Got it?
Yeah, it's right over here. Down here.
I know where they're down.
Right here. So yeah,
This was directly from the public hearing, is what you're saying.
that was from like when I first had to talk to the plan commission on why the heck we're doing this. So that goes back to March. But these are all the changes. So these have been posted online for weeks ahead of the public hearing. So everything's on there yet, so you can look it up. I'll keep it on there just because it's change. So. And some of this stuff is updated a little from this language, so it might be a little out of date, but generally the concepts are the same. So.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving this ordinance to make those zoning changes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next one is an ordinance to amend section 20.52.156, general requirements for planned unit development. Adam?
It's a very simple change. We would take our planned unit development minimum size of 5 acres and drop it down to 2 acres. Planned unit development is a very useful tool, provides flexible zoning options. So, how this could be applied is anything from more of a commercial development up to, say, a residential development where, you would have to get to 5 acres to do a PUD, which is pretty large. If you go down to 2 acres, basically what you could do is kind of pick your own zoning. So you could have a mix of, this area is 0 lot lines, this area is big houses, this area is small houses, whatever. It just sort of provides more flexibility, and by going from 5 to 2, it just opens up more parcels of land in the community up to this option, because getting 5 acres of land in the city to develop in this nature can be very difficult.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Paige, is there a second? Second by David. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the ordinance on planned unit developments, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Last one for the night is ordinance to create Article 6, tourist rooming houses in Chapter 20.52 of the Municipal Code of the City of Ripon, Wisconsin.
I'll move approval of the ordinance to create Article 6 tourist rooming houses in Chapter 20.52 of the Municipal Code of the City of Ripon, Wisconsin.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Moved by Ellen, seconded by Jolene.
I do have just a question. The ordinance looks fine. What is the cost of a license?
We can set that tonight too, if you would like, if you want to amend your motion. We would not charge anything more than like a hotel license, which I believe is $9 or $10. We would treat it exactly the same as that. That would be my recommendation.
So that, I have a follow-up question. So this would be for all Airbnbs and VRBOs and that, do we have a lot of those that are not licensed currently in the city?
So this is where the existing code, as John can probably speak to, we had these under a conditional use. And that was sort of it wasn't a bad way of doing it. It's just, and there's a conditional use component to this as well if you go over a certain level of stays. This would kind of remove that conditional use requirement. And yes, there are numerous Airbnbs and VRBOs operating without conditional uses, including ones that would technically, in my opinion, not require a conditional use because they're in a commercial district. So This sort of, in terms of what we're regulating here, this is a zoning code amendment allowing these activities in those specific districts, as well as more or less a mechanism to check to make sure that these are licensed by the county, because there is a county, there's a county requirement. I will show this to you all because I think we're not in the business of like health and safety with this totally, because there are other mechanisms to check that box. This is for zoning and making sure we get our room tax money.
That was my follow-up
Yep.
question for room tax.
Yep, and then tourist rooming houses are required to get a permit through the county, which includes a health inspection, looking at making sure there's water and things of that nature.
They also, in Fond du Lac, have noise requirements for VR. And did you look at that at all? Because
noise,
there
but-
were some there are bad actors there that the police have been called to repeatedly for loud parties.
Yeah.
And they're not, they have, actually Fond du Lac, bless them, has a sound ordinance that after 11 o'clock at night, you can't, have any loud booms or anything like that. Or big parties. So,
And part of ours does sort of try to regulate that and look at, because a lot of places, these turn into party
yes.
houses for the weekend. Not saying that that's a problem here now, but, so.
There was one really bad actor in Fond du Lac in which became the go-to place for folks from Illinois and minors from Illinois. And I believe they were prosecuted by lying on the application that they were over 21 when they were minors. So it can become problematic.
So then to the question about fees or whatever too, the only other fee would be is if you need a conditional use and you're at that level, you would have to pay the conditional use fee.
I feel like I asked this last time and I don't remember the answer. I apologize. So strictly for the use of EAA, because I know people rent out their dwellings. We're several years away from doing that because of children. But like we've got a great space where you could fit a lot of people in our house. Is that something that would have to be licensed through this if it's a one-time? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And the county,
Just clarifying.
already has an ordinance and a requirement, and that's where,
Okay.
a lot of times we're chasing people
Yeah.
because they can get on Airbnb faster than
we can.
than we can see it. But this at least, when people call and ask, right now, it's kind of hard to say, because I've gotten at least probably 5 calls. I want to buy a house and I want to turn it into an Airbnb. Okay, so grappling with this is important from the standpoint of knowing, permitting it, making sure room tax is done, as well as, having requirements in place so we don't lose houses just to this, because we need houses
Right, yeah.
for people too, like to live here, so.
Also, for people listening, what is the penalty for not being licensed?
It would fall into enforcement of the zoning code. So we could fine people, we could double the permit fee to $20. I think it's a good question, and it's a tough one, because by the time we even find somebody maybe doing it, they could be done doing it. Part of this is going to be education. Part of it's going to be enforcement and just getting the word out that you need to now fill this out. And I mean, if we have to go down that route and somebody's running an illegal, unlicensed Airbnb, they would be penalized under the zoning code.
I like the idea of the $10 or whatever fee, that's great. But if you look at the letter F for records, that's probably the most important that I can see, is that you're supposed to keep records. And hand those records in at the end of the year or whatever I forget what it said, but they should be kept on file and actually and available upon, inspection. So that's probably one of the most important for, say, police. If there's crime going on, at least they know who stayed at my Airbnb or whatever. So I think it's a good ordinance.
And just to clarify, it's filed annually, but available upon request.
Yeah, thank you.
I just think I think this is a great opportunity for the city to kind of build on what's already out there and becoming a great example of a community that utilizes sites like Airbnb and VRBO to do it right, to do it, make it user friendly from the tourist side, but from the resident side. So I just encourage everyone to, if this is something you're already doing and you need more information on making sure that you're following the rules, please contact the city, because I think this is a great opportunity for us to really become, to kind of get everything, do it right, do it well.
Any further discussion? Billy?
Just curious as to, and I'm not saying I'm against it, I just want to know, what is the reasoning for the minimum of a two days?
The clarification on that one is, it's an overnight stay. So it's one night going
Oh, I
into 2
see.
days.
Yeah.
It's not 2 nights.
That's how I read it at first.
It's on
Got
2
it.
calendar days.
Got it.
We don't want them being rented by
The hour.
the hour.
Oh, I see, I see.
Thank you for clarifying.
Any further discussion?
Just for the record, the enforcement mechanism is going to come through the fact that this will be a license, business license, operational license, and the penalty under the operational license is spelled out in 672, which refers you back to 116, and there it spells out first, second, and subsequent penalties for forfeiture. Continued violations can be each day a violation. We now have a municipal court system that allows us to do that with one citation for lots of period of time. So we have a judge that is user-friendly in that respect, so it can be very expensive for someone not to get a license for this activity at the end of the day.
Further discussion?
So remind me, the motion on the table does not include a license fee.
Correct.
So-
My recommendation is to vote on this. If it approves, well, I'll come back for a second motion for a fee. Is that all right? Okay. So if there's no more discussion, all those in favor of approving the ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That is approved. Would anyone like to make a motion to set the fee?
I'll make a motion to set the fee at $10 per application.
And that's an annual fee, correct?
And it would be annual, yes.
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
Actually, the hotel one is $7.50 if you want to go with the hotel one.
I want to go with the $10, please.
Okay, $10.
Then you don't have to.
Is there a second? Is there a second to that? Motion? Okay, seconded by David. Doug?
Nothing now. I
Okay.
was going to comment on the fee, but $10 is fine.
All right, any discussion on the motion of setting the annual fee to $10?
Do we have a reasonable sense that this is in line with other communities?
I would guess that it's probably low. But, when we're charging hotels and Motel 750, I think this is
Is that 750 a room? Or
750 total.
Total,
for the year?
And you may find at a later date, once you enact the ordinance and
need to look
enforce
at
the
that, right.
ordinance, you may find that there's more dollars involved and you may change the fee, but we're beginning here.
I think the $10 will make everybody honest.
Yeah.
It's not a large amount of money. They'll come in for the application and
Frankly, the money we are making on this is through the room tax. And we don't want to deter anybody from doing this, with a huge fee, because we are getting, money back when this happens. And that money goes to cool things like fireworks.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion to set the tourist rooming house permit fee to $10, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. On to project updates and staff reports. Public Works, Police Department. City Clerk? No? Adam?
Just give you the kind of report. We did postpone the fireworks on July 4th because of the forecast and at the recommendation of the contractor. And we did reschedule them for July 9th, as you saw over the weekend at Barlow in conjunction with Ripon Fest. So thought that went well. And thank you to all the donors who stepped up this year. We received just over $3,400 in donations for the fireworks. So at a time where they cost more this year than ever because of supply chain and other issues, we had a lot of people step up and businesses inside and outside the community who do business with us donate back. And so that was very helpful. That is all I have.
Thank you. All right, I do have three appointments for this evening. A couple of them are reappointments. First one is...
Before we go on though, I'm so sorry it's late, but since we might forget for next year, is there any, is it appropriate to ask how the location, since it was the first year in a new location, how that was for the record? Is that not?
I think you want to put that on an agenda.
This has happened in the past, and it causes controversy because people will want it at Barlow in conjunction with Ripon Fest, although they're paid for by the city, and the city has chosen Murray Park as its site. This happened, Lud, do you remember when it happened?
Yeah, when they switched over, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
and
long time ago.
And it'll come back before the council. I guarantee it.
And that's the appropriate, if the council wants it on the agenda, it belongs to the council. It's a council decision, is all we can say this evening.
It's not a new location.
We don't want to get into the debate, but
Yeah.
the comment is straight.
Yeah.
All right, so first appointment is to the library board. It's reappointing, pronounce the last name for me, Janet
Bosco.
Bosco. That's easy. Should be able to get that. Reappointing Janet Bosco for her first full 3-year term.
You want them separately?
Yes, please.
I will move to appoint Janet Bosco to her first full 3-year term on the library board.
I will second.
Thank you. Moved by Ellen, seconded by Paige. All those, or any discussion?
Wasn't she already serving?
What?
She finished out a term.
Yeah, so she
Someone else's
already
term.
has served.
Yes,
Yeah.
for a couple of months.
Yes.
Any discussion?
I will add, I think she's a great choice.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Thank you. Next is to reappoint Jeff Liticote to the Public Works Committee for a 3-year term.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Paige, I got Ellen, I heard Ellen first on the second. Sorry, Doug. Any discussion there?
I've talked to Jeff personally about some issues, and he seems very caring and knowledgeable, and I think he's a great choice.
Anyone else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approved, thank you. And last one is for Historic Preservation Committee, appointing Steve Reamer to fill out a term ending this October 31st.
I'll
Motion.
make a motion to approve.
Thank you,
I'll
Doug.
second.
Thank you, John. Any discussion there? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? He is approved. Thank you very much. And as always, if anyone in the public is interested in serving on a committee, even if it's full, just let either myself or Adam know, and we will consider you for the next opening. Otherwise, that's all I have. Any future agenda items or comments from council?
I had a question, maybe for someone. Sorry to delay the meeting. I had an email from somebody in our district that they were pushing a wheelchair through downtown, and specifically it was the Sidewalk Cafe outside Patina V. Is there a set width that needs to be allowable? Because the email that I got said they actually they couldn't fit their wheelchair past. They didn't have that issue anywhere until they got there. So is there a width requirement?
The particular code does not, but does ADA trump that code?
That would be an issue, and I think the chief spoke to that at an earlier meeting, that our goal here is to try to get compliance voluntarily with the businesses that are trying to fit those things into those certain areas. So certainly, I think we will take it upon ourselves to approach that business about making sure the appropriate clearance is available. So you can indicate that and the chief can address it.
Yeah, and I walked down there with my stroller, and I actually couldn't get my stroller through either. And I didn't exactly know where, like, they didn't specify where, if it was down by the food vendor.
On the West Fond du Lac Street side?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what.
Yeah, so if you remember, we had a discussion about this several meetings ago. After that meeting, we reached out to Craig T-Bond with Downtown, with Main Street. I drafted a letter, I think you were supplied maybe a copy of that letter, if I remember, that he forwarded out. I know that we specifically talked about that location, and that day he went down there with the owner and made some adjustments, so maybe we just need to revisit that. But I know that it's been addressed at least once there, so we just need to check and see where she's at.
I'll walk down again, you know, and then I'll let you know. I don't know. Maybe it's fixed up.
Do you have some, Paige?
Oh, I just wanted to say that as a resident of Barlow Park, I thought Ripon Fest went really well. There were, as I went over there and as just, hearing all the noise there, I thought it was a very well organized and executed event. So, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because, and the fireworks were a great touch. But I will say there is a bunch of firework remnants. The garbage still over by the field where they shut them off, over behind the back parking lot of. Over.
On Ringstead?
Yeah, back in the field there.
Okay, yeah, the school called.
Okay.
Called the street specifically,
Okay.
and we're gonna go sweep that.
Okay. Yeah, there's a bunch of small tubing in the grass area there.
Okay.
Yep, back by the
They were
secret
picking some
playground.
of that up, and then we're gonna take care of the street.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure because we were over there today and the kids were all about it, so. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will
Motion to adjourn?
I will second.
Moved by Doug, seconded by Paige. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 8:35. Thank you.